Hey, we're back. The Brother Live Book Club. Charles Clark, Jimmy Terry. What's up, man? It's been a while.
It's been a while. Been a while. I don't know if the snow melted there or what, but still trying to
Let's
figure
not
that out.
talk. Let's not talk about nobody's snow. I can't do it. I'm sick of snow, rain, sleet. I listen. I just want spring to come.
Yeah,
I need to come on, do what's gonna do, and let's get the party started. But
that's what I'm
hey,
saying.
it is what it is. But we have a brand new book that we're gonna be discussing over the next few weeks, and we've learned that sometimes talking about a good book takes more than one session, and so we're not going to rush this one.
Hmm.
um, this one is called Stop Waiting for Permission by Stephen Chandler. And harness your gifts, find your purpose, and unleash your personal genius. And I don't know about you, Brother Jimmy, but this got me to thinking a lot about how I'll be 50 this year.
Wow.
I'll be 50 in November, and how sometimes we were raised not to want a higher position, but actually wait for your turn.
Yeah.
And my question is, what if your turn never comes
Mm.
by men's standard?
Right.
You and then men's standards kind of funky sometimes because you too short, you too fat. It's all based on
Hmm.
looks and
Hmm.
things. Or your daddy was this person, so no, your grandfather was yeah. It's all based upon some kind of superficial, not that the wisdom that you have attained, not by the work that you have done. It's
Hmm.
about how you look and where you come from.
Yeah.
It's not about your own personal purpose. And I'm going to start off by reading something. It's actually on the first page. It says, "How do you find that place when you can step into that season? Do you sit back and wait for an opportunity to fall in your lap? Or do you start knocking on or kicking in doors?"
Mm.
When it comes to greatness, some people are full of potential but short on drive.
Mm.
Others are driven but lack direction. Still, others have direction but also have debilitating fear and doubt. I want to talk about that real quick because let me tell you something. I was thinking about how really I started Brother. And I remember as a kid, um, every black family had a copy, at least one copy of Jet and one copy of Ebony.
Hmm.
I don't know of a black family who didn't have at least one. Now, if you got more than one, but
Right.
you had at least one.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated by magazines when I was growing up. But I was more, I read the articles, the cover story, all that kind of stuff. But I really wanted to know who who put this together. So every issue, and it's, I started this as a kid. And I'm still a magazine junkie, and I still do this, and I'm almost 50.
Yeah.
I still look at the masthead. I
Yeah.
still look for it.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of magazines don't put the masthead anymore, but I still look for it. Who's the publisher? Who's the editor? Who's the copy editor? Who puts this bad boy together, and what effort it takes to put this together? And when I turned maybe 30, I understood that I wanted my own magazine.
Mm.
And I went about doing it, how to figure it out. So by the time 35 came, 2009, maybe 35, somewhere in that area, I said it's time to do the doggone thing.
Hmm.
But for the longest time, I was afraid to do it.
Hmm.
And because it was such a different thing for me to even dream about the possibility, because people knew me, that's a Clark.
Right.
But not only is it a Clark, that's the singing Clark.
Mm.
So I was letting people's expectations and how they saw me put me in a box instead of going for what I knew I really wanted to do. As if it was as if I couldn't do two things at the same time. If you were a singer, that's all you can do.
Right.
Just go and sing, brother. Or as they call us back in the day, boy.
Mm.
You past 30, but they still calling you boy. It's very
Hmm.
interesting how we talk to our people sometimes. And I just went to do it. And I did it quietly at first because I learned early on, if I told people, somebody would try to talk me out of it.
Right.
I don't tell the story very often, but when I was growing up, I wanted to be an opera singer. I found it very interesting.
Mm.
Singing in different languages and hitting the high C's and all that kind of stuff. I thought that was interesting. I wanted to do it.
Wow.
And I remember I told somebody and they dogged me and I put it out of my brain. I could have made a whole lot of money.
There
A
you
black
go.
male opera singer, I could have made some money doing it. But, God had different things. So, he did what he did. So, and so I remember that when I started the magazine, I just did it. I didn't tell anybody. I just went on and did it. I found a mentor. I went out and found about prices, found out that print media was difficult even in 2009. So I knew someone who did online, found the process, got the site, saved my money, used my tax money. I did everything I need, I got a business certificate and all that. I mean, I went and I did, and it was all about research and I did it.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing, and this is why the first chapter in that particular section I just wrote, I didn't let anybody stop me because I learned from my past mistake. I didn't tell anybody.
Mm.
You wasn't going to dance on my dream. So I bet if I kept it to myself, and as the process went on, I had people, and I'll never forget that it was during my first year. I had someone, a well-known individual. I'll tell you later who it was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He said, "Black folks don't read." I said, "Okay, so you're not going to last a year."
Wow.
Well known, and I'll tell you later. But well known. I was interviewing him.
Mm.
He said, "Oh, you're not going to last a year." I said, "Wow, you really tell me to my on the phone, but to my face, you really gonna say this to my face?"
Yeah.
Now this year is our 14th year.
Amen.
And so I kind of chuckle at that people are so quick to douse on your dream as if you've given them permission to actually discredit, devalue.
Give an opinion.
Everybody got an opinion, don't mean I want to hear it though at the same time. And so the other part to this was, and it's further in the chapter, and I we don't talk about it before, but I wanted to read this section because it's on page 11.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to get your opinion on this because this is what I've done for the last 14 years. It's at the very bottom. It says, "If you dare to believe God for more, it will rub people the wrong way." Get out of here.
Wow.
But if you're in the middle of God's purpose for you, you'll live.
Yeah.
More than that, you'll thrive. No one attains greatness without also acquiring thick skin. And I just wanted to get your opinion on that, my brother. Because how much thick skin do you have?
Right.
Because I'm telling you, going for you rubs people the wrong way. And I don't know why. It's because they wanted to do something and they were stopped by other people's opinions about their own fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that sometimes fear is debilitating. Right. It is debilitating. Trust me, I know. When I first started the magazine, this made me think about, I've been rehashing my life reading this book. I'll tell you that right now.
Mm.
Because when I started the magazine, I never intended to do any interviews. That I wasn't going to do not one interview.
Yeah.
But somehow, some way, that very first year, I got an interview with Israel Houghton.
Mm.
And the first time I met him, the first time I saw Israel Houghton in person was the first time I met you and your wife.
Wow.
So that was a few years before that. Mel and I came to Ohio.
Yeah.
And he was at the church that you were youth pastor at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he was your special guest.
Mm.
So the first time I met Israel Houghton, first time I met you and your wife. That's funny. So fast forward a few years,
mm-hmm.
Israel Houghton's going to be in the magazine. My music editor at the time got sick as a dog, couldn't do it. And Israel was on tour, and this was the only time he was doing interviews.
Mm.
So I had to do the interview. And that's how I started doing interviews.
Look at that.
I had to get over my fear because I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't going to do it. I had to get over it. And so much of that was a learning process. I used to hate saying greatness, but it led to me. There is not too many people that I've wanted to interview that I haven't interviewed, to be honest with you. I have been blessed beyond measure, from Yolanda Adams to Kirk Franklin, Fred Hammond, actors, actresses. I have been blessed, but I could have stopped my own greatness by listening to people and being so afraid to use. And this is the point that I got in the book as well. I was afraid to use the voice that God has given me.
Mm-hmm.
I was afraid to use it. Now I would sing, and I realized something. When I'm singing, sometimes I close my eyes. I don't be paying y'all no attention.
Right.
And I could have hindered my own greatness. This is the part that got me about the book. I'm done talking. It's your turn. I really like the book, as you can tell, because it got me thinking. And is it should we not ask for another level?
Mm.
Because I really want you to talk about James and John, to be honest with you, that section. That actually blew my mind, that section, because I never thought of it that way, the way he put it in there. Because they knew that Jesus was about to die.
Mm-hmm.
And they literally asked to be appointed to another level. Now, here's the thing that I'm going to be quiet, because I'm excited about the book.
Mm-hmm.
They sent their mama, though.
Mm.
That's the part that tickles me. They sent their mama. Mm-hmm. You would think, I want this position. I want this. I'm going to ask for it for myself. But no, I'm going to send my mama. Yeah. Okay, I'll be quiet. I'm sorry.
No,
I got excited.
I mean, it's great, and it's so vital and crucial, and relative. When you talk about wanting to do something great, and a lot of times it's funny how no one had opinions until you started talking about your dreams. Now, no one had an opinion. Everyone was sitting there and watching watching your life. Now suddenly, they're the opinion experts.
Yes.
to quote this young man from a movie. But so here you have James and John, where their mom's asking about, where could they be seated? And part of one of the things that came out that I started thinking about, even with that, was I was reading a passage today, and it was talking about when the disciples argued about who's going to be at Jesus' right hand. Now, those are two different concepts. It wasn't that in that case they weren't necessarily asking for greatness, because first of all, Jesus talking about what he's about to go through, and y'all having the fight about where y'all gonna go.
Right.
No one's talking about what they're going to sacrifice. So. But in this case here, and I like the author said, Chandler said, Jesus didn't get mad. He didn't get after them for that. He didn't get after them for asking about where they want to be. And so I think that aspect of greatness. I was reading this one part of the page 9, and he said, there'll be a seat at the table with your name on it if only you call ahead and give your name. And so
come on.
You have not because you ask not. You and then there are those with ulterior motives. But when you really want to do something great, when you want to go to that next level, there has become this inflection that you have. And I like the part even underneath that quote. He says, people are impressed by where you are, but you still feel unfulfilled. You still feel uncomfortable. It's just, is this it? Is this all there is? And then he talks about there's a biblical message, complete with a few left along the way. He says, this book will help you orient your drive and gifts toward deeper purposes of God. And again, back to the James and John, and even as you were sharing, about the part of the daring to believe God for more, that's really where my core thought comes in. It's It's interesting how many people have opinions. And then what makes it worse is when it comes time to do the work, you won't see them anywhere.
No,
So you don't
can't be
see them at the
found.
beginning. As you're working, they got these comments to discourage you. And
Hmm.
then at the end of it, they're nowhere to be found. So it is interesting how you and in your mind, like you said, whether it's fear or whatever our hesitancy is, we're waiting for someone to sort of give us the green light for greatness, and that's never gonna happen.
No,
Not from them.
no,
No, it's
because I
it's just
realize,
not gonna happen.
because no one wants, first of all, no one wants to see you great.
No, no,
Family family,
right,
hopefully, if you have a
right,
good one,
yeah,
um, they'll support and whatever. But I realize one thing, that even in that, when you are striving for the purpose that God has given you,
mm-hmm,
and let me be clear because I understand it now more than ever, when you have been given a task by God,
yeah,
that it is one of the most alone
mm-hmm,
roads that you will have to be on, because he gave you the task,
right,
not anyone else.
exactly,
So all those ups and downs and valleys and darts and sleepless nights and worrying about how this is going to get done and whatever, n- no one understands that better than you, because, or no one will ever get it, or
right,
no one can ever share in that journey, because the task wasn't given to you.
right,
How
right,
many times you want to give up and throw in the towel
yeah.
while you're striving for greatness?
Yeah. And it's not that what you do is just this self-fulfilling accomplishment. What you know in your heart, what you are given to do is going to
Mhm.
bless others, is going to reach others.
That's right.
So it's not as one of these things where you just going for a walk and you're saying you leading all these people. No, this is
Right.
something that has value, has substance, and can make a difference in someone's life. And so and God has given you, that's what we read in scriptures. He gives specific instructions, and the instructions that he gives individuals always seem to stand out. God is innovative, so his stuff is always going to stand out. It's always going to be
Hmm.
different. And the first thing you'll get from individuals, well, I've never seen it done that way. Oh, that's interesting. That's bold of you. All little, those little shady comments that we hear sometimes,
Right.
to sort of throw us off track.
But how often do you have to almost, and it might sound a little crazy, but how almost do you almost have to put blinders on
Mm-hmm,
and almost cover your ears so that you can stay on that road?
mm-hmm,
Um, because there was a piece in here, and I just wanted to read it real quick. It's on page 13,
yeah.
and it talks about they're afraid even to imagine a new season in a place of greatness.
Wow.
And when you're working towards something, and I had to realize it myself, the baggage you bring along that road with you.
Mm-hmm,
Because here, right after that sentence, it says, they're survivors of what? Childhood trauma, of a health
mm-hmm,
crisis, of abusive relationship, of the loss of a loved one or business, who haven't yet healed
yeah.
from very real emotional, mental, and spiritual damage.
Mm-hmm,
And this the part that got me. Now, I really wanted to ask you, can you really move into a level of greatness when you're carrying that kind of baggage with you?
mm-hmm.
Or is it because you're doing the assignment that God gives you, healing comes along the way because you're doing God's will?
Right.
Is that a
No.
question to even ask?
Yeah. No. I think it is, because it's is it baggage that you need to let go of? Is it baggage slash what Paul calls thorn in your flesh
Mm-hmm.
that God's
Got
grace
okay.
will get you through? you
Mm-hmm.
know but I do think that there are those baggages and those things that cause those individuals to say the things they say, to
Mm-hmm.
discourage and distract us. So they're speaking from a place of their own hurt, of their
Mm-hmm.
own disappointments, of their own neglects and what they haven't accomplished. And so here's someone who's actually, because there's nothing new under the sun. So here's someone who's actually executing what they might have thought about 20, 30 years ago. And so there's that sense of it should have been me, could have been me. They're not going to say that, but when you start unlayering it and when you start breaking it down, I think that's part of it too, that there are those. And unfortunately, what can happen, even as you were saying, so here's someone who says, I'm at the top of my game. I'm 40. I'm getting started. Or I'm 50. Guess what? There's actually some 20-year-olds behind you.
Right.
And if you're not careful, now you're standing in their way. And now you have the mindset, well, you're not going anywhere until I accomplish my greatness, as opposed to the ways that it could happen, the ways it should happen. So I do think there's an element of there are those who carry that type of weight and that type of hurt of, I didn't, I wasn't chosen, I wasn't picked, I wasn't selected, I was overlooked. And so no one is going to get this path. I'm not mentoring anyone. I'm just going to do me.
Right.
So I do think there's an element in there where here Paul is encouraging Timothy to be the best he can be. Not, well, I've had this issue, I've had that issue. No, he said God's grace is sufficient for me. So even the things that I'm dealing with and struggling with, I'm not going to allow that to prevent what I'm going to pour into you, Timothy, to be the greatest that you can be in the kingdom. So that's
but somewhere along before we begin the process of being on that road, do some people use those traumas, those issues, to actually keep them bound and not going to that next level?
Yeah, I agree. I do think so. I believe so. I believe
and
that.
So I'm sorry. No, keep going.
No, I was going to say it's like the saying, hurt people hurt people. So
okay, but how this other question, because I particularly in that one particular passage, if hurt people, I've heard that song. Why you? But why?
Right.
You hurt, so you want to inflict hurt on somebody else. I don't. That's the part that always gets me. So you've been hurt.
Good about that at all.
So to make you feel better about yourself, you're gonna hurt somebody else.
Isn't that?
And then not only hurt somebody else, almost browbeat them until, because they're doing something that you want to do, so you're going to make sure that they don't do it to make you feel good.
Isn't that something? And unfortunately, we never put that on the agenda to talk about that. It's just tradition. It's just annual. It's just, this is how it's all, it's those, but never to say, hey, that's wrong, or that's mean, because there's some stuff that's just straight out mean. There's some things that's straight out, no, that's not okay.
I want to read this section. I'm still on page 13. It says, I'm telling you, page 13 was something else for me. Shooting for average and seeking mediocrity is ungodly.
Whoa.
I'm going to read that again because I'm tired. Oh, be quiet. Shooting for average and seeking mediocrity is ungodly. Yes, the Bible teaches us to live quiet lives of humility. See 1 Thessalonians 4:11. And Jesus told his disciples that serving others is what opens the door to greatness. But humble service isn't the same as smallness, mediocrity, and insignificance. Far from it. Listen, let me tell you about, listen. So, there's a song that says, is it a song or a phrase? Only what you do for Christ will last.
So,
yeah, okay. Let me put that in the proper perspective. Listen, only what you do for Christ will last. But can we do it with excellence, though?
Right.
And if you're not going to do it, how about don't do it at all?
Wow.
That line, that sentence I just read you has stuck with me since I read it, because I've been, I've been taping shows because
Yeah.
we've been down for a month because
Hmm.
we had to move to new offices. As you can tell, I hope everyone liked the new office. So, God has been good. Um, but when I read that, even the way I do the show, I wanted to make sure that it's even more excellent. It's even more kingdom driven, and the topics are uplifting but informative. It's going to be some new stuff coming. Can't wait for you to show you. Can't wait to show the people.
Hmm.
I don't want to do because again, people. Okay, forget about Charles Clark. Forget about Jimmy Terry.
Hmm.
The stuff we do as part of the assignment we've been given by God, it has to be great. And if it's not great, then what the devil are you doing it for?
Hmm.
And they said mediocrity, based on what I just read, is ungodly. Because did not God do everything in greatness?
Hmm.
And we are his sons and daughters, so we should mirror his likeness and his work ethic.
Hmm.
Huh? And if you can't do, oh, I'm gonna get in trouble today. If you can't do it, sit down.
Sit down. Woo.
I'm gonna be quiet. I'm gonna be quiet. But listen, I have to read this part too. I'm still on page 13.
Hmm.
It says wounds from trauma are real,
Yeah.
but they don't have to define us.
Exactly.
I'm gonna stay right there. Listen, there's some traumas. I was just talking to a friend of mine today. We go through some stuff,
Hmm.
but does that literally define who I am? Or that happened to me at that moment in time, but look at what God has done. He's taken me, he's brought me, and I'm better for it. And again, we keep using stuff that's happened to us and using it not for us to be great.
Hmm.
And that's and I listen to my students, and I have some smart students. I really do.
Hmm.
But brother, it's almost as if they sabotage their own next levels almost every time. I said, "Why you
Hmm.
do that for?" One of them said, "Mr. Clark, I don't even know. I just did it, or I didn't do it." I said, "But now you got a failing grade, and they don't even know why they didn't do it. They don't even know why. They're sabotaging themselves." And would do you believe? Because I've seen it. And I don't know if you've seen it, but sometimes we sabotage ourselves
Hmm.
so we don't have to go to the next level.
Wow.
Oh no, I'm gonna get in trouble.
It,
I've seen it, so I'm gonna be quiet.
are you right? And it's like right now, I'm sitting at a glass desk,
Okay.
and whenever I think about that, think about the glass shelves and the refrigerator. I dropped a bowl today, ceramic glass, and it bounced one time and flipped on its side. It
Mm-hmm.
didn't crack. It's that word in the glass that I used to read. I don't know. I just would read anything, so I would look and see almost invisible, but on the bottom side of that shelf or the glass, it says tempered.
Mm.
And it's tempered, meaning it had to go through something. It had to go through some tests, some bangs to see what level can you take before you crack. And I think that that's part of that, where you can use wounds. Your wounds should, they shouldn't stop you. If anything, they could motivate you. If anything, you can say, I've been through worse.
Yes.
So let me present my best. But like back to what you said,
Wow.
it does become an excuse. We do allow it to become an excuse. And it's like, by the time after you finish your complaint, after you finish what you can't do and what happened and all this, I'm sure Jesus is sitting there saying, "Oh, really? You've been through some things.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you my story."
Oh, let me tell you
That's all.
Jesus said, let me tell you my story. Okay. That's what, oh my, listen. So listen, I want you to, because we're about to end, because we can do this forever,
Yeah.
but we want you to read the book. We're just giving you snapshots. Just snapshots. But I want you, this is a challenging thought. Every chapter ends with a challenging thought. And so this is a challenging thought I want you to think about until next week. And we're going to talk about this first. And then we're going to talk about the next chapter, which is actually, the chapter is called No Excuses Allowed. Think
Mm.
about that. But this is your challenging thought until next week. Here we go. Assess the following areas: relationships, career, finances, and family. As you consider the last 5 to 10 years, think about the ways you've aimed for greatness or settled for average. Mm, that's it. Last words. We got to go.
Whoo! I don't even know. I don't know what to say. Other than I'm glad for the challenge. Just overall in this book, again, that line, stop waiting for permission. And of course, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to do like, was it Saul? Saul should have waited for Samuel because he needed to wait for certain permission. We're not talking about that.
Right.
We're not talking about God's permission. But when it comes to what we know God has told us, and then we hesitate because of what people are saying, you get past that hump, child. If you can get past people,
If you can get past that, if you can get past people.
I
And
think,
on that note, I'm not saying nothing else because that right there, we're going to end it. Listen, we're going to see you next week. Listen, as I always say, and all we talk about, listen, stay healthy mentally, physically, emotionally, stay healthy. Continue to be blessed, but also be a blessing to somebody else. And until next time, peace.
peace.